Charles Njana may be another face in the crowd, but this face tells a story. He never met the man they've come here to celebrate in Johannesburg, but the man changed his life. Vincent Tshabalala, the young activist who fought against apartheid and paid with his life. Money raised in his name sent scores of young hopefuls like Njana to school.
After my matric year, I wasn't really sure whether I was going to go to university, but I knew I wanted to actually go into university. But there was I didn't have options in terms of funds. I was raised by my grandmother, lost my parents at an early age. I applied for loans, NFSAs, and during that time, it was between early Jan when universities are still preparing to open. So far I wasn't winning, it was it was quite, a sad experience, to be quite honest. I mean, just going home every day, just telling my grandmother how passionately I want to actually to pursue my studies, not to be at home. And when it actually happened, when I got a call from the trust, I was actually pleased. I was actually over the moon.
It meant Njana studied and became a derivative specialist in South Africa's financial world. Njana and Tshabalala both grew up in Alexandra, but their lives couldn't have been further apart. Tshabalala died from a police bullet in 1985 at the age of 20. The end to a short life working at the grassroots in Alexandra.
We worked together when we started the Alexandra Youth Congress. Vincent was there. At the time, he was very involved in the student movement as well. That's why he didn't take leadership in Alexandra Youth Congress. He was chairman of COSAS, but he also left the year we launched the Alexandra Youth Congress. I became the president, but he then decided he's going to join Mkhonto Wesizwe. But the reason why we decided on an education trust, because he used to love education. He used to organize Saturday classes. When he was involved at Minerva High School, he was the chairman of the SRC, he was the chairman of COSAS. So we thought the best way of honoring him is through an education trust, because his heart was in education.
He used to organize Saturday classes for us in Alex. I mean, my first time when I met white people outside my mom's white employers, because my mom was a domestic worker, when he organized students from Rau and Wits to come and teach in Alex, for an example. That's one. The second thing he used to organize, we used to have night classes. When we cross night, he used to go to our families and assure our parents that we will be safe, we'll come back safe, and that the focus is going to be education, but nothing else. And our parents trusted him, because we will go and study at school, cross night, and they will bring us safely at home.
When one reads the story of Vincent Tshabalala and gets to know exactly what type of a person he was, you actually get goosebumps. Because here was a young man who, even at a very young age, had dedicated his life, young life, in a way that was very inspiring, in a way that showed a way much further than many people could see. In his own township, he was a respected person, he was admired, and as we know, he was also greatly loved by comrades who worked with him in Alexandra, and hence they gave him one of the names of the revolutionaries of our liberation movements in Southern Africa. They called him Toivo. He was always simple. He was a very humble person. He was also dependable. This education trust, which bears his name, is a fitting tribute to the memory of a dedicated and a principled activist, and a distinguished young leader who, with his generation, lived by the creed, each one, teach one.
His friends set up this education trust in his name 10 years ago. It awards full bursaries to top matriculants from high schools in the Alexandra Township, one of the poorest communities in South Africa.
When we awarded the first 6 students bursaries, all we had was 34,000 rand in the bank. This is 2005. The idea was to award 5, but we just couldn't let the other 6th one go. I'm glad today he's a chartered accountant, actually. So we awarded 6 bursaries. As the time went on, we realized that it's hectic because 34,000 rand to cover books, tuition, accommodation, and an allowance couldn't even cover one student. We then spoke about it with Paul, took a second bond to actually be able to pay the fees for at least for that year. And since then, we started other initiatives to try and fundraise for the trust. But we continued to contribute because the 34,000 that was in the account was as a result of us contributing monthly into the because we wanted to make sure that we established a trust.
We've got a lot of support. I mean, if I tell you, over the last 10 years, who have been key speakers here, former Deputy President Kgalema Motlanthe, former Minister of Finance Pravin Gordhan, former Minister Trevor Manuel, the governor of the Reserve Bank, who's also a boy from Alex, Lesay Chakanya, who is here this evening. The Premier of Gauteng was a speaker last year, and many others. So we've got lots of support. This year we had Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa, and we continue to invite key people from the industry, from various sections of our community to support the trust, and that's why it has been growing from strength to strength. The more we raise funds and get more funds, we take more students.
One thing we've achieved in the 10 years is to inspire young people of Alex to pursue their dreams. When you walk in Alex, for example, wearing a t-shirt of Vincent Tshabalala or a cap, you'll hear young people saying, in a few years' time, that's me who will be wearing that, because we give all our beneficiaries a t-shirt of Vincent Tshabalala. So it has become a symbol of hope, but the symbol that there is a better tomorrow.
40 youngsters from Alexandra have taken up the bursaries and have found lucrative jobs. Many of the powerful people who have emerged from Alexandra are kindred spirits who support the trust.
This is very much close to my heart because I was privileged myself to have been given a bursary to complete my matric at Crawford College, and that was after failing in the first attempt. And the former education MEC Mary Metcalf believed in me. She was given a bursary to give to any child from a historically disadvantaged community. And I was a president of COSAS at the time. I had failed for the first time, and she believed that I can make it for the second time. And every time I look back and I realize that was a life-changing opportunity. So I know what it means to be given an opportunity to acquire knowledge, to realize your dreams.
Anyone who is anybody who had grown up in Alex or has come through there and had managed to break the cycle of poverty, they did so by taking advantage of educational opportunities. And that is why an initiative like the Vincent Tshabalala Education Trust, which focuses on giving young people from Alexandra an opportunity to take advantage of educational opportunities, is such a laudable initiative. I've been a friend and contributing to the trust from 2005. I do contribute my own personal money, not a big amount, contribute on a monthly basis, and have been at times doubling it. The amount of money that you contribute is not as important as the commitment that you have, knowing that the amount of money that you contribute actually makes a difference in the life of one or more young people from Alexandra. And I must say that the young people from Alexandra have not disappointed. The throughput rate is remarkable. A lot of them had graduated. There are a couple who are already on postgraduate studies. And what is also become clear for us is that the Vincent Tshabalala Trust Education Trust does not have beneficiaries. It only has members, because people who had who had been sponsored by the trust, had come back to put back into the trust, to put back into Alexandra Township. And that is what makes it such a different initiative.
We have established a trust in my name that raises funds for children from rural schools, especially in the community where I come from, where I was brought up in Limpopo, but also children in the townships. The townships in Gauteng that are significantly disadvantaged, where you have lots of families who are unable to take some of the brightest of our kids who pass very well to university. So the trust supports education, it also supports health, particularly in the area of women's health, cancer, and then thirdly, young people. The trust also supports arts, sports and culture for the youth. So the trust that I have the honor to chair, which is named after me, made a donation to the Vincent Tshabalala Trust. The challenges facing our country are enormous. We have significant challenges, but if each one of us can do something, the problem is that we always think government must do everything. Everyone you go to meetings, people say the government must do this. But if we can get every single one of us to say, what is it that I can do to contribute to making life better, to making things easier, to making those who are less fortunate get better opportunities, especially education. Education is the fundamental #1 priority in our country.
After all of the speeches and fundraising, this man is the proof of the pudding. Njana holds a BSc degree in applied mathematics and is completing his master's in finance. He too believes in each one, teach one.
Through the Vincent Tshabalala Education Trust, I have to regularly give back. I have to go back to Alex and do something to empower my community and change my community, not only in Alex. So I'm currently involved with a teaching project. So I teach over the weekend, and I'm also involved in cleaning up Alex and also helping out in the community. I always used to hear about scholarships, bursaries, and I never thought something like that could actually happen to me. When it did, when I performed really well during my matric year and I got the scholarship, I knew my dreams would actually come through. It's more than just an institution. I mean, it's a family. I mean, it doesn't actually just teach you or pay for your studies. They teach you values.